and a good Wednesday afternoon to all of you bookworms who are joining us here for another Anne of Green Gables read-along. Hey gang, how are you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
Very good. Awesome to be back.
Yes! Hello, Patrick, and Hirami is with me today. By the way, Hirami, it's been a while since you joined us, so yay! But we have sad news, you guys. I was just checking the comments, and Teal says she has a terrible migraine and she can't be here with us today. So Teal, right now, just rest. My heartfelt sympathies, because migraines are awful. So just rest and know that we miss you and we hope you feel better soon. And why did it have to be on your day off, right? Oh, darling. Well, I hope you join us for Friday, and that you enjoy the replay. Also, Crusher was the very, very first one who joined us, who typed on the chat. So, Crusher, thank you so much. And if you are free, we have a few roles that we can give out, because it's just the three of us, you guys. So, we have some roles. I took several roles, so I'm more than happy to give them to whoever wants them, who can join us. Who else is in the chat? Oh, it's me saying hello, everyone. Having technical difficulties. We managed to sort those things out. Thank you so much for your patience. It's Discord being Discord. I had to uninstall it and reinstall it, you guys. That was not fun, but we're here, and it's not as bad as
It's amazing how frequent that happens to you, because I never had that problem.
I know, right?
Famous last words.
Yeah, knock on some wood, Hirami, otherwise you'll jinx yourself. I don't know. I wonder if Discord... Okay, are you a PC user or a Mac user?
PC.
Okay, so that's probably it. Because I feel that
Master Race.
Discord favors the PC users. I feel like that's the case. And I don't understand why, but... I don't know. I think we have to do a lot more like little workarounds to get some stuff done when you're working in a Apple, and it's not fair, but it is what it is. I'm still not gonna change over to Windows anytime soon. By the way, the other day my mom she bought herself a new laptop. I was like, oh, not again, because every time anybody in my family gets a new technology, guess who is the one that has to like set it up for them and connect them to the Wi-Fi and connect it to... I'm like, you guys know how bad at technology I am? Like, I'm atrocious. Well, I'm the best one in my family I'm the one that they rely on to do the things. So like, do anything.
That's a scary thought.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So, everybody in my family is technologically challenged. Everybody. My dad thinks he's a genius because he figured out how to get ChatGPT to work. And I'm like, man, now he's going to start ChatGPTing. But again, who was the person?
Mean, yeah, sometimes ChatGPT can help.
It can. But I don't know if I want my senior citizen father to be on ChatGPT and to develop a connection with the bot. I don't know. I've heard of folks doing that kind of thing, especially male folks who like kind of make it like have an emotional... I don't know. Okay, my dad's been banned from Facebook. He can't use Facebook because he's just not good with, he takes everything so seriously in the internet, you guys. I love my daddy, but yeah, so we'll see if the world explodes with him now having access to ChatGPT.
I mean, I found hilarious how people saying hello, thank you, how are you to ChatGPT costs us the business more money.
Right. I don't know, like, if anybody here is a ChatGPT user or whatever, Claude or DeepL or what is it? Not DeepL. What is the other one? DeepSeek. There's another ones that are like, do you use words like please, thank you, or whatever in your chats? Let me know, because I want to know who are my people. Yes, I am one of those people. I say, can you please do this for me? Can you please summarize this conversation? Can you get this transcript? And then when it gives it to me, I say, thank you. Now can you do this? So, I don't know. I'm one of those people, you guys. I am costing OpenAI millions of extra dollars. Well, not me personally, but I'm part of the two nice people. I don't know. Do you say please and thank you to chat? Confess, you guys.
Honestly, no, I don't. Since I am on the part of the programmers group, I feel like ChatGPT is another program. So, yeah.
What about you, Patrick?
I'm always nice to our future robot overlords.
Exactly. One day it'll be like, this girl treated me with gentleness. I will not eliminate her. I don't know.
I have watched too much Terminator and Terminator 2. I must always be nice to the robot overlords.
RoboCop. Okay, so now you know, you guys. We are all very nice people, except for Hirami, who she has excuse because she is on the programming side of things, so she knows reality. Whereas, you know,
Hirami's a meanie.
No, she's not.
Mean. I'm evil.
You should hear how she abuses us when we're not on live.
If anything,
Wow.
you guys, if anything, we should be respectful of Hirami because she's going to be programming.
I'm the mastermind.
Yeah, she's going to be programming her robotic army. So Hirami, please don't forget us. Be gentle.
I will remember taking notes.
All right. With that cheerful thought in mind about our not apocalyptic future, we're just having fun here. We're here to read some Anne of Green Gables, and we're reading chapter.
Magpie, what are you doing in the background there?
Sorting out my desk.
Yeah, it sounds like you're rifling through something.
I'm so sorry, you guys. I will admit that I have been working like a maniac, pulling late hours the past couple of days. And this is my break, you guys. Like, I am taking a break to read stuff with you guys, but my desk is still covered with all kinds of stuff, all kinds of junk from...
Oh God, this is your break? I feel bad
This is my
for you.
break. This is my break, you guys. And my next break is going to be on Friday. I will also have a break. My deadline is Friday 6 o'clock. That's first deadline, and then the second deadline is going to be Sunday. Well, actually, it's Saturday midnight. So, wish me luck, you guys. Anyway, but so I was cleaning off my desk so I could have a little bit more room while we read. And anyway, all right. Sorry about that. I will not rifle through my desk anymore. We have chapter 29 and 30 today. Let's see. Do you guys remember what happened in the previous two chapters? Let's see. Chapter 27. That's a little refresher because I get confused because of the anime pace and then reading pace. So, but chapter 27 was Vanity and Vexation of Spirit. You guys remember what might have happened there?
Did she get a true carrot top?
Yes, indeed. That's the chapter where Anne dyes her hair, supposedly a lovely raven black, but it turned out to be green. And when I watched this part in the anime, I was like, there is no way, like, they cut her hair off so badly, like, it was like a boy cut. I was like, this is so bad, there's no way. But then rereading this, it's like, yes, it was close to her head. Like, oh my god.
I mean, considering how most women dye their hair, I'm surprised it wasn't closer than what they they depicted in the anime, because that would have been scalp.
Yeah. The only saving grace is that she applied it with a brush, so I'm sure the brush wasn't very good and she was focusing on the ends. Maybe that was it. I don't know. And then chapter 28 was called An Unfortunate Lily Maid. I wonder what happened in that chapter. Any hints?
Did she have a almost fortuitous encounter with a certain boy that she hates?
It would have been fortuitous, except that she shut that down. Yeah, so...
Because she's stubborn, the dumb little you-know-what?
Don't call her dumb little you-know-what. She's an angel. So yeah...
She's a headache to Marilla, and somehow still a blessing.
She's a gremlin. What else do you expect? So, there's a part where she and the girls are playing make-believe, and she floats down the river in a barge. The barge gets a leak. The boat gets a leak. She almost drowns because she doesn't know how to swim, of course. In this day and age, you weren't really taught how to swim, as a matter of course. And fortunately, Gilbert Blythe was around to save the day, except that when he offered once more the chance to be friends, she rejects that immediately, only to just come to regret it a little later. Because she also felt like a certain little stirring deep within. What could that be? Yes, the stirrings of attraction. But no.
Oh my, stirring.
Yeah, that's right. So, unfortunately, that's not to be. And so she shut that down.
At least not yet.
Well, we don't want to spoil people. That's not to be. Hold your horses there.
Well, to be fair, I haven't actually read the books, so I don't know. But I have my hunches, and I want this to be a thing.
Okay. Well, it is a book that's more than 100 years old, so I guess if you're not... we can't really protect you from not being spoiled by a book that's 100 years old.
That is a very fair assessment.
All right. By the way, in the chat, Crusher also says here, we'll probably drop in later, maybe in 30 minutes, if I decide to floor it. Okay, Crusher, please be safe. Please. We want you to show up in one piece. Thank you. Fuji, petals floating on the river is giving him wrong ideas. Says floor it. Don't floor it. Fuji, we want our Crusher to be safe. Speaking of Fuji, says, may I
floor it!
Ignore Patrick, of course. May I pray for a blessing in appreciation of the serendipitous meeting ordained by the vibrant summer race of Leidenschaft, the god of fire. We're not on Leidenschaft's month yet. But yes, you may.
What are you talking about? It's definitely summer.
It's not summer. It's not summer yet.
Summer. She just wanted to chant. It's summer.
It's not summer. It's not. I mean, just yesterday we had a thunderstorm here. We never get thunderstorms in the summer, so... Oh!
Just because you have an out-of-season weather phenomena in California doesn't mean that it's not summer.
Right. Sure. It's not summer. The calendar doesn't allow it yet. Not until June 21st. By the way, yes, you may, by the way, Fuji Petals. Oh, Leidenschaft, please give those presents strength and lots of... We don't want trials. Take that prayer away. We don't want trials. Go away, Fuji Petals floating in...
Bring on the trials.
We want no trials. I mean... Oh, well.
At this point, I'm just wishing for the opposite that Magpie wishes for.
Trushmak is in the chat, says, I'm here, the party can start. Welcome, Trushmak. It is now time to ignore Patrick and to get reading, because this is what we're here to do, and it's been 20 minutes, though admittedly I was late a little. But anyway, happy to see all of you, and for those of you joining in, love you so much. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are reading chapter 29 and 30, and these are going to be the following people, because there's only 3 of us. So I hope you enjoy our read along. Anne is going to be read by Haremy, and Haremy is also going to be reading Josie Pie. Magpie, oh, that's me. I am going to be reading Diana and Marilla. Teal, I am going to have to take this role up most reluctantly. Yes, Marilla. And Miss Stacy. And Patrick is going to be reading Miss Jo Berry, Moody Spurgeon, and Mrs. Rachel Linda. And of course, highlights by Hireme and Teal. Thank you. All right, let's get this started. Chapter 20. Ooh. Okay, here we go. Chapter 29. An epoch in Anne's life. Anne was bringing the cows home from the back pasture by way of Lover's Lane. It was a September evening, and all the gaps and clearings in the wood were brimmed up with ruby sunset light. Here and there the lane was splashed in it, but for the most part it was already quite shadowy beneath the maples, and the spaces under the firs were filled with a clear violet dusk like airy wine. The winds were out in their tops, and there is no sweeter music on earth than that which the wind makes in the fir trees at evening. The cows swung placidly down the lane, and Anne followed them dreamily, repeating aloud the battle canto for Marmion, which had also been part of their English course the preceding winter, and which Miss Stacy had made them learn off by heart, and exulting in its rushing lines and the clash of spears and its imagery. When she came to the lines, the stubborn spearsmen still made good their dark, impenetrable wood. She stopped in ecstasy, to shut her eyes, that she might be better fancy herself one of that heroic ring. When she opened them again, it was to behold Diana coming through the gate that led into the berry field, and looking so important that Anne instantly divined there was news to be told. But betray too eager curiosity she would not.
Isn't this evening just like a purple dream, Diana? It makes me so glad to be alive. In the mornings, I always think the mornings are best. But when evenings come, I think it's lovelier still.
It's a very fine evening. But oh, I have such news, Anne. Guess. You can have 3 guesses.
Charlotte Gillis is going to be married in the church after all, and Mrs. Adams wants us to decorate it.
No. Charlotte's beau won't agree to that because nobody ever has been married in the church yet, and he thinks it would seem too much like a funeral. It's too mean because it would be such fun. Guess again.
Jane's mother is going to let her have a birthday party?
Diana shook her head, her black eyes dancing with merriment.
I can't think what it can be,
said Anne in despair.
unless it's that moody Persian MacPherson saw you home from prayer meeting last night, did he?
I should think not, exclaimed Diana indignantly. I wouldn't be likely to boast of it if he did. The horrid creature! I knew you couldn't guess it. Mother had a letter from Aunt Josephine today, and Aunt Josephine wants you and me to go to town next Tuesday and stop with her for the exhibition. There!
Oh, Diana,
whispered Anne, finding it necessary to lean up against a maple tree for support.
do you really mean it? But I'm afraid Marilla won't let me go. She will say that she can encourage getting about. That was what she said last week when Jane invited me to go with them in their double-seated buggy to the America concert at the White Sands Hotel. I wanted to go, but Marilla said I'll be better at home learning my lessons and soon with Jane. I was bitterly disappointed, Diana. I felt so heartbroken that I wouldn't say my prayers when I went to bed. But I repented of that and got up in the middle of the night to say them.
I'll tell you, said Diana. We'll get Mother to ask Marilla. She'll be more likely to let you go then, and if she does, we'll have the time of our lives, Anne. I've never been to an exhibition, and it's so aggravating to hear the other girls talking about it on their trips. Jane and Ruby have been twice, and they're going this year again,
I'm not going to think about it at all until I know whether I can go or not.
said Anne resolutely.
If I did, then I was disappointed, and it would be more than I could bear. But in case I do go, I'm very glad that my new coat will be ready by that time. Marilla didn't think I needed a new coat. She said my old one would do very well for another winter and that I ought to be satisfied with having a new dress. The dress is very pretty, Diana, navy blue and made so fashionably. Marilla always makes my dress fashionably now because she says she doesn't intend to have Matthew going to Mrs. Lindy to make them. I'm so glad. It is ever so much easier to be good if your clothes are fashionable. At least, it is easier for me. I suppose it doesn't make much such a difference for a naturally good people. But Matthew said I must have a new coat, so Marilla bought a lovely piece of blue broadcloth, and it's being made by a real dressmaker over at Carmody. It's to be done Saturday night, and I'm trying not to imagine myself walking up the church aisle on Saturday in my new suit and cap because I'm afraid it isn't right to imagine such a things. But it just slips into my mind in spite of me. My cap is so pretty. Matthew bought it for me the day we were over the Camor Mote. It is one of those little blue velvet ones that are all the rage, with gold cords and tassels. Your new hat is elegant, Diana. It's so becoming. When I saw you come into church last Sunday, my heart swelled with pride to think that you are my dearest friend. Do you suppose it's wrong for us to think so much about our clothes? Marilla says it's very sinful. But it's such an interesting subject, isn't it?
Marilla agreed to let Anne go to town, and it was arranged that Mr. Barry should take the girls in on the following Tuesday. As Charlottetown was 30 miles away, and Mr. Barry wished to go and return on the same day, it was necessary to make a very early start. But Anne counted it all joy, and was up before sunrise on Tuesday morning. A glance from her window assured her that the day would be fine, for the eastern sky behind the firs of the haunted wood was all silvery and cloudless. Through the gap on the trees was a light shining in the western gable of Orchard Slope, a token that Diana was also up. Anne was dressed by the time Matthew had the fire on, and had the breakfast ready when Marilla came down, but for her own part was much too excited to eat. After breakfast the jaunty new cap and jacket were donned, and Anne hastened over the brook and up through the forest to Orchard Slope. Mr. Barry and Diana were waiting for her, and they were soon on the road. It was a long drive, but Anne and Diana enjoyed every minute of it. It was delightful to rattle along over the moist roads in the early red sunlight that was creeping across the shorn harvest fields. The air was fresh and crisp, and little smoke blue mists curled through the valleys and floated off from the hills. Sometimes the road went through woods where maples were beginning to hang out scarlet banners. Sometimes it crossed rivers on bridges that made Anne's flesh cringe with the old, half-delightful fear. Sometimes it wound along a harbor shore and passed by a little cluster of weather-gray fishing huts. Again, it mounted to hills whence a far sweep of curving upland or misty blue sky could be seen. But wherever it went, there was much of interest to discuss. It was almost noon when they reached town and found their way to Beechwood. It was quite a fine old mansion set back from the street in a seclusion of green elms and branching beeches. Miss Barry met them at the door with a twinkle in her sharp black eyes.
So you've come to see me at last, you Anne girl.
She said.
Mercy, child, how you have grown! You're taller than I am, I declare. And you're ever so much better looking than you used to be, too. But I dare say you know that without being told.
Indeed, I didn't.
said Anne radiantly.
I know I'm not so freckled as I used to be, so I have much to be thankful for, but I really hadn't dared to hope there was any other improvement. I'm so glad you think there is, Miss Barry.
Miss Barry's house was furnished with great magnificence, as Anne told Marilla afterward. The two little country girls were rather abashed by the splendor of the parlor where Miss Barry left them when she went to see about dinner. "Oh, isn't it just like a palace?" whispered Diana. "I never was in Aunt Josephine's house before, and I had no idea it was so grand. Oh, I just wish Julia Bell could see this. She puts on such airs about her mother's parlor."
Velvet carpet.
Sighed Anne luxuriously.
And silk curtains. I've dreamed of such things, Diana, but don't you know I don't believe I feel very comfortable with them after all. There are so many things in this room, and also splendid that there's no scope for imagination. That is one consolation when you are poor. There are so many more things you can imagine about.
Their sojourn in town was something that Anne and Diana dated from for years. From first to last it was crowded with delights. On Wednesday, Miss Barry took them to the exhibition grounds and kept them there all day.
It was splendid.
Anne related to Marilla later on.
I never imagined anything so interesting. I don't really know which department was the most interesting. I think I like the horses and the flowers and the facing work best. Josephine took first prize for the knitting lace. I was really glad she did, and I was glad that I felt glad, for it shows I'm improving, don't you think, Marilla? When I can rejoice in Joy's success? Mr. Harmore Andrews took second place for Gravenstein apple, and Mr. Bell took it first prize for a pig. Diana said she thought it was ridiculous for a Sunday school superintendent to take a prize in the pigs, but I don't see why. Do you? She said she would always think of it after this when he was praying so solemnly. Clara Louise McPherson took a prize for painting, and Mrs. Lynn got first prize for homemade butter and cheese. So Avonlea was pretty well represented, wasn't it? Mrs. Linde was there that day, and I never knew how much I really liked her until I saw her familiar face among all those strangers. There were thousands of people there, Marilla. It made me feel dreadfully insignificant. And Miss Barry took us up to the grandstand to see the horse races. Mrs. Linde wouldn't go. She said the horse racing was an
Abomination.
was an abomination. And she, being a church member, thought it her important duty to set a good example by standing away. But there were so many there, I don't believe Mrs. Linden's absence would ever be noticed. I don't think, though, that I ought to be very good often to horse races, because they are awful fascinating. Diana got so excited that she offered to bet me 10 cents that the red horse would win. I didn't believe he would, but I refused to bet because I wanted to tell Miss Mrs. Allen all about everything, and I felt sure it wouldn't do to tell her that. It's always wrong to do anything you can't tell the minister's wife. It's as good as an extra conscience to have a minister's wife for your friend. And I was very glad I didn't bet because the red horse did win, and I would have lost 10 cents. So you said that virtue was its own reward. We saw a man go up in a balloon. I'd love to go up a balloon, Marilla. It would be simply thrilling. And we saw a man selling fortunes. You paid him 10 cents, and a little bird picked out your fortune for you. Miss Barry gave Diana and me 10 cents each to have our fortunes told. Mine was that I would marry a dark complected man who was very wealthy, and I would go across waters to live. I looked careful at all the dark men I saw after that, but I didn't care much for any of them. And anyhow, I suppose it's too early for to look out for him yet. Oh, it was a never to be forgotten day, Marilla. I was so tired I couldn't sleep at night. Miss Barry put us in the spare room, according to the promise. It was an elegant room, Marilla, but somehow sleeping in a spare room isn't what I used to think it was. That was the worst of growing up, and I'm beginning to realize it. The things you wanted so much when you were a child don't seem half so wonderful when you get them.
Thursday, the girls had a drive in the park, and in the evening Miss Barry took them to a concert in the Academy of Music, where a noted prima donna was to sing. To Anne, the evening was a glittering vision of delight.
Oh, Marilla, it was beyond description. I was so excited I couldn't even talk, so you may know what it's like. I just sat in a rapturous silence. Madame Selitsky was perfectly beautiful and wore white satin and diamonds, but when she began to sing, I never thought about anything else. Oh, I can tell you how I felt. But it seems to me that it could never be hard to be good anymore. I felt like I do when I look up into the stars. Tears came up into my eyes, but oh, when they're so happy, they were so such happy tears. I was so sorry when it was all over, and I told Miss Barry I didn't see how I was ever to return common life again. She said, though, if we went over to the restaurant across the street and had an ice cream, it might help me. That sounded so prosaic, but to my surprise, I found it true. The ice cream was delicious, Marilla, and it was so lovely and the dissipated to be sitting there eating all at 11 o'clock at night. Diana said she believed she was born for city life. Miss Barry asked me what my opinion was, but I said I would have to think it over very seriously before I could tell her what I really thought. So I thought it over after I went to bed. That is the best time to think things out. And I came to the conclusion, Marilla, that I wasn't born for the city life and that I was glad of it. It's nice to be eating ice cream at a brilliant restaurant at 11 o'clock at night once in a while, but as a regular thing, I'd rather be in the East Gable at 11, sound asleep. But kind of knowing, even if my sleep, that the stars were shining outside and that the wind was blowing in the fields across the brook. I told Miss Barry so at breakfast the next morning, and she laughed. Miss Barry generally laughed at anything I said, even when I said the most solemn things. I don't think I like it, Marilla, because I wasn't trying to be funny, but she is a most hospitable lady and treated us royally.
Friday brought going home time, and Mr. Barry drove in for the girls.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Said Miss Barry as she bade them goodbye. Indeed we have, said Diana.
And you, Anne girl.
I've enjoyed every minute of time.
Said Anne, throwing her arms impulsively around the old woman's neck and kissing her wrinkled cheek. Diana would never have dared to do such a thing, and felt rather aghast at Anne's freedom. But Miss Barry was pleased, and she stood on her veranda and watched the buggy out of sight. Then she went back into her big house with a sigh. It seemed very lonely, lacking those fresh young lives. Miss Barry was rather a selfish old lady, if the truth must be told, and had never cared much for anybody but herself. She valued people only as they were of service to her or amused her. Anne had amused her, and consequently stood high in the old lady's good graces. But Miss Barry found herself thinking less about Anne's quaint speeches than of her fresh enthusiasms, her transparent emotions, and her little winning ways, and the sweetness of her eyes and lips.
I thought Marilla Cuthbert was an old fool when I heard she adopted a girl out of an orphan asylum.
She said to herself.
But I guess she didn't make much of a mistake after all. If I had a child like Anne in the house all the time, I'd be a better and happier woman.
Anne and Diana found the drive home as pleasant as the drive in. Pleasanter indeed, since there was the delightful consciousness of home waiting at the end of it. It was sunset when they passed through White Sands and turned into the shore road. Beyond, the Avonlea hills came out darkly against the saffron sky. Behind them, the moon was rising out of the sea that grew all radiant and transfigured in her light. Every little cove along the curving road was a marble of dancing ripples. The waves broke with a soft swish on the rocks below them, and the tang of the sea was in the strong, fresh air.
Oh, but it's good to be alive and to be going home.
Breathed Anne. When she crossed the log bridge over the brook, the kitchen light of Green Gables winked her a friendly welcome back, and through the open door shone the hearth fire, standing out its warm red glow athwart the chilly autumn night. Anne ran blithely up the hill and into the kitchen, where a hot supper was waiting on the table. "So you're back," said Marilla, folding up her knitting.
Yes, and oh, it's so good to be back.
Said Anne joyously.
I could kiss everything, even the clock, Marilla. A broiled chicken. You don't mean to say you cooked that for me?
"Yes, I did. I thought you'd be hungry after such a drive and need something real appetizing. Hurry and take off your things, and we'll have supper as soon as Matthew comes in. I'm glad you're back, I must say. It's been fearful lonesome here without you, and I never put in 4 longer days." After supper, Anne sat before the fire between Matthew and Marilla, and gave them a full account of her visit.
I've had a splendid time,
She concluded happily.
and I feel that it marks in a part of my life. But the best of it all was the coming home.
End of chapter.
That was such a sweet
That
chapter.
was a sweet chapter. So
And I thought Miss Joe Barry hated Anne and Diana.
well, she didn't hate him, but she was very angry at them when they jumped into into the bed with her in it. And then Anne came around while she was visiting, and she kind of like amused her and won her over. So that was when she was like, "Oh, I'm leaving, but I'll invite you to my house, and I'll put you in my spare room." So this is her fulfilling the promise. By the way, I want to say thank you to Patrick, who, while we were reading, he gifted 10 memberships to this channel. Thank you, Patrick. That is very, very lovely and generous of you.
And Turash Max still didn't get one.
So,
Gotta check them settings. I don't know which ones, but there's some for.
If you want to receive gifts, there is a setting. So Turash Mac would have to check his settings, but that he can receive memberships. And also there is a YouTube has its own little algorithm, so it just I've asked the people on YouTube when I started doing the YouTube memberships, and it just has its own way of assigning and how it gives it. But you do have to like increase your chances of it. Just make sure to put in the settings that you can accept memberships. How do you check that? And how to check on Google. That's the best way to to figure things out. Where do we check these things? Let me see. Google. How to turn on YouTube setting for accepting YouTube gifted membership. To enable, here we go. We have an answer. To enable accepting gifted memberships on YouTube, navigate to the channel's membership page. Locate the gift settings option, usually in the 3-dot menu, and ensure allow gifts is toggled on. Yes. This setting allows you to receive gifted memberships when viewers give memberships during the live streams or premieres, and it gives a little bit more information here. You can also, it says live chat, you can also opt in to receiving gifted memberships directly from the live chat during a stream or premiere by selecting allow gifts or the pinned membership gifting option. All right, hopefully that helps. They do have videos or something somewhere in there. Yeah. So hopefully that helps. But in any case, thank you a lot for gifting those memberships and for supporting this channel, Patrick and Haremy, and all of you who are listening here and engaging, and all of that helps. Thank you so much.
And don't forget to please like and subscribe and join the Magpie and support us. Maybe you'll actually be able to join us in a future read-along.
Yes, we read-alongs, watch parties, recordings, still working on those things. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Especially since you guys, I went to Novel Updates, you guys, and there have been some news about the anime adaptation that I haven't seen anywhere else, and I'm looking for the original source before I break out the news of what I found, because I don't want it to be just like, if anybody knows about this and anybody has the original write-up, but there's some news that that says that it's coming, and there's some exciting news because apparently it might be more than like one season that we're getting, so that's also good news. But I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it officially. I want to make a video to talk about it, but I can't because I haven't found the original source. Like, somebody had it, and then they just kind of did a translation and they posted it, but they didn't link to where it was from. I don't even know the name of the publication. And they talk about the cast, who's voicing what, and so I'm like, huh. And there have been some changes, you guys. So, but I don't want to be like official. Anyway, all this to say is that I am preparing for Bookworm, and we'll have Bookworm watch parties. We'll have Bookworm stuff going on in the server and in this channel as well. So be sure to continue to be just check in every once in a while. I promise that as soon as I get proper news, I will share it as soon as possible over on the server.
And if you can't wait for news, I would definitely suggest following Miyakazuki on Twitter and other social media platforms.
Yes.
Also, the publisher, what's the publisher? TO Books?
Yep. Yeah, TO Books.
They also put out information every now and then, so please, if we miss an update, please let us know.
Right. Yes. Oh man, I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Oh well. But yes. Excited for the future. That's why. Oh yeah. that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to say, like, put anything on socials or even on the Discord server, because I want to have Kazuki Sensei confirm it, because that was just a wit source, and I don't know where you get that. I don't know how you get that. So kind of excited, but also with a grain of salt. But yeah, that's what I read. They said that it was their expectations for the public response to A Sense of a Bookworm after the first 3 seasons was far beyond anything that they had expected. They were very pleased. I mean, I spent more than $500 on like bookworm stuff, and I never ever buy any anime merchandise. Nothing, you guys. So I don't know. Something was bound to give. So anyway, just saying, keep it up, you guys. Continue to support the series. But
it's not uncommon for authors and other creators to underestimate the value that their creation has. I believe that it's been stated that certain authors like Stephen King even hate their own creations, and please show these creators that you do love what they made.
Yes. All right, folks, let's continue reading Anne of Green Gables. I know we kind of had to do a bookworm tangent. Sometimes I'm like, how did these tangents come to be? I have no idea. We ended up talking about bookworm. But let's go back to Anne. Let's read chapter 30. And this is an important chapter for Anne, because we're now talking about higher education. So before, Matthew and Marilla had hinted at it, like they're thinking about her future, they want to do something for her. So let's see what that entails now. Chapter 33. The Queen's class is organized. Marilla laid her knitting on her lap and leaned back in her chair. Her eyes were tired, and she thought vaguely that she must see about having her glasses changed the next time she went to town, for her eyes had grown tired very often of late. It was nearly dark, for you probably should not be knitting in the dark, Marilla, or in lamplights. I'm just saying. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I mean, considering their level of technology, it's not like they have much choice.
Yeah, she should put a summoning circle around herself. Sorry. Crusher, you're here. Crusher's here.
Yes, it is I.
'Tis you. Do you want to read, Crusher?
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. So I have. Let's see. I'm reading Diana, Miss Stacy, and and Marilla. You can have either Miss Stacy. You can have Miss Stacy if you want. She's bound to read.
Miss Stacy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What color?
I don't know.
Pale yellow.
Yes, pale yellow. You want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm committed to reading Marilla, so. And I don't know if there'll be a Diana.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Chapter XXX.
Oh. Oh, shush. I was hoping nobody would point it out. Ah!
I was avoiding saying it, but
good for you, Patrick.
Someone else did.
Good boy, Patrick.
Because
Good
so
boy.
third-minded. I'm so surrounded by numbers all the time, and I always see 30 on there.
Honestly, though, I kind of thought about it. I was like, they're gonna say something. I hope they don't, and then I forgot about it. So I'm not that bad. I'm not so errant, but I was. It did occur to me. All right. So let's start from the top, you guys, because I started the disorder here. Chapter XXX. That's 30 to you guys.
Well.
The Queen's class is
You
organized.
dirty degenerates.
The Queen's class is organized. We're organizing a class here. Dang it! All right. Marilla laid her knitting on her lap and leaned back in her chair. Her eyes were tired, and she thought vaguely that she must see about having her glasses changed the next time she went to town, for her eyes had grown very tired often of late. It was nearly dark, for the full November twilight had fallen around Green Gables, and the only light in the kitchen came from the dancing red flames in the stove. Anne was curled up, Turk fashion, on the hearthrug, gazing into that joyous glow where the sunshine of 100 summers was being distilled from the maple cordwood. She had been reading, but her book had slipped to the floor, and now she was dreaming, with a smile on her parted lips. Glittering castles in Spain were shaping themselves out of the mists and rainbows of her lively fancy. Adventures wonderful and enthralling were happening to her in Cloudland, adventures that always turned out triumphantly and never involved her in scrapes like those of actual life. Marilla looked at her with a tenderness that would never have been suffered to reveal itself in any clearer light than that soft mingling of fireshine and shadow. The lesson of a love that should display itself easily in spoken word and open look was one that Marilla could never learn. But she had learned to love this slim, gray-eyed girl with an affection all the deeper and stronger from its very undemonstrativeness. Her love made her afraid of being unduly indulgent indeed. She had an uneasy feeling that it was rather sinful to set one's heart so intensely on any human creature as she had set hers on Anne, and perhaps she performed a sort of unconscious penance for this by being stricter and more critical than if the girl had been less dear to her. Certainly, Anne herself had no idea how Marilla loved her. She sometimes thought wistfully that Marilla was very hard to please and distinctly lacking in sympathy and understanding. But she always checked the thought reproachfully, remembering what she owed to Marilla. "Anne," said Marilla abruptly, "Miss Stacy was here this afternoon when you were out with Diana." Anne came back from her other world with a start and a sigh.
Was she? Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't in. Why didn't you call me, Marilla? Diana and I were only over the haunted wood. It's lovely in the woods now. All the little wood things, the fern and the satin leaves and the crackerberries have gone to sleep, just as if somebody has tucked them away into spring under a blanket of leaves. I think it was like a little gray fairy with a rainbow scarf that came tiptoeing along the last moonlight night and did it. Diana wouldn't say much about that though. Diana has never forgotten the scolding her mother gave her about imagining ghosts in the haunted wood. It had all a very bad effect on Diana's imagination. It blinded it. Mrs. Linda said Myrtle Bell is a blinded being. I asked Ruby Gillis and Murphy was blinded. Why Myrtle was blinded, and Ruby said she guessed it was because her young man had gone back on her. Ruby Gillis thinks of nothing but young men, and the older she gets, the worse she is. Young men are all very well in their place, but it doesn't do to drag them into everything, does it? Diana and I were thinking serious of promising each other that we will never marry but be nice old maids and live together forever. Diana hasn't quite made up her mind though, because she thinks perhaps it would be nobler to marry some wild, dashing, wicked young man and reform him. Diana and I talk a great deal about serious subjects now, you know? We feel that we are so much older than we used to be that it isn't becoming to talk childish matters. It's such a solemn thing to be almost 14, Marilla. Miss Stacy took all us girls who are in our teens down to the brook last Wednesday and talked to us about it. She said we couldn't be too careful what habits we formed and what ideals we acquired in our teens. Because by the time we were 20, our characters would be developed and the foundation laid for our whole future life. And she said if the foundation was shaky, we could never build anything really worthwhile on it. Diana and I talked the matter over coming home from school. We felt extremely solemn, Marilla, and we decided that we would try to be very careful indeed and form respectable habits and learn all we could and be as sensible as possible, so that in the time we were 20, our characters would be properly developed. It's perfectly appealing to think of being 20, Marilla. It sounds so fearfully old and grown up. But why was Miss Stacy here this afternoon?
That is what I want to tell you, Anne. If you'll ever give me a chance to get a word in edgewise. She was talking about you.
About me?
Anne looked rather scared, then she flushed and exclaimed,
Oh, but I know what she was saying. I meant to tell you, Marilla. Honestly, I did, but I forgot. Miss Stacy caught me reading Ben Hur in school yesterday afternoon when I should have been studying my Canadian history. Jane Andrews lent it to me. I was reading it at dinner hour and I had just got to the chariot race when school went in. I was simply wild to know how it turned out. Although I felt sure Ben Hur must win, because it wouldn't be poetical justice if he didn't. So I spread the history open on my desk lid and then tucked Ben Hur between the desk and my knee. I just looked as if I was studying Canadian history, while all the while I was reveling in Ben Hur. I was so interested in it that I never noticed Miss Stacy coming down the aisle until all at once I just looked up and there she was looking down at me, so reproachful like. I can't tell you how ashamed I felt, Marilla, especially when I heard Josephine giggling. Miss Stacy took Ben Hur away, but she never said a word then. She kept me at recess and talked to me. She said I had done very wrong in two respects. First, I was wasting the time I ought to have put on my studies, and secondly, I was deceiving my teacher by trying to make it appear I was reading a history when it was a storybook instead. I had never realized until that moment, Marilla, that what I was doing was deceitful. I was shocked. I cried bitterly and asked Miss Stacy to forgive me, and I'd never do such thing again. And I offered to do penance by never so much as looking at Ben Hur for the whole week, not even to see how the chariot race turned out. But Miss Stacy said she wouldn't require that, and she forgave me freely. So I think it wasn't very kind of her to come up here to you about it after all.
Miss Stacy never mentioned such a thing to me, Anne. And it's only your guilty conscience that's the matter with you. You have no business to be taking storybooks to school. You read too many novels anyhow. When I was a girl, I wasn't so much as allowed to look at a novel,
Oh, how can Ben Hur a novel when it's really such a religious book?
protested Anne.
Of course, it's a little too exciting to be a proper reading for Sunday, but I only read it on weekdays, and I never read any book now unless either Miss Stacy or Mrs. Allen thinks it's proper book for a girl 13 and three-quarters to read. Miss Stacy made me promise that. She found me reading a book one day called The Lurid Mystery of the Haunted Hall. It was one Rube Gillis had lent me, and oh, Marilla, it was so fascinating and creepy. It just curdled the blood in my veins. But Miss Stacy said it was a very silly, unwholesome book, and she asked me not to read any more of it or any like it. I didn't mind promising not to read any more like it, but it was agonizing not to give back that book without knowing how it turned out. But my love for Miss Stacy stood the test, and I did. It's really wonderful, Marilla. What can you do when you're truly anxious to please a certain person?
Well, I guess I'll light the lamp and get to work, said Marilla. I see plainly that you don't want to hear what Miss Stacy's had to say. You're more interested in the sound of your own tongue than in anything else,
Oh, indeed, Marilla, I do want to hear it.
cried Anne contritely.
I won't say another word, not one. I know that I talk too much, but I am really trying to overcome it. And I know I say far too much, yet if you only knew how many things I want to say and don't, it'd give me a credit for it. Please tell me, Marilla.
Ah, well, Miss Stacy wants to organize a class among her advanced students who mean to study for the entrance examination into Queen's. She intends to give them extra lessons for an hour after school, and she came to ask Matthew and me if we would like to have you join it. What do you think about it yourself, Anne? Would you like to go to Queen's and pass for a teacher?
Oh, Marilla!
Anne straightened to her knees and clasped her hands.
It's been the dream of my life. That is, for the last 6 months, ever since Ruby and Jane began to talk of studying for the entrance. But I didn't say anything about it because I suppose that it would be perfect useless. I'd love to be a teacher, but wouldn't it be dreadful expensive? Mr. Andrews says it cost him $150 to put Prissy through, and Prissy wasn't a dunce in geometry.
I guess you needn't worry about that part of it. When Matthew and I took you to bring you up, we resolved we would do the best we could for you and give you a good education. I believe in a girl being fitted to earn her own living, whether she ever has to or not. You'll always have a home at Green Gables as long as Matthew and I are here. But nobody knows what is going to happen in this uncertain world, and it's just as well to be prepared. So you can join the Queen's class if you like, Anne.
Oh, Marilla, thank you.
Anne flung her arms around Marilla's waist and looked up earnestly into her face.
I'm extremely grateful to you and to Matthew. And I will study as hard as I can to do my very best to be a credit to you. I warn you not to expect much in geometry, but I think I can hold my own in anything else if I work hard.
I dare say you'll get along well enough. Miss Stacy says you are bright and diligent. Not for worlds would Marilla have told Anne just what Miss Stacy had said about her. That would have been to pamper her vanity. You needn't rush to any extreme of killing yourself over your books. There's no hurry. You won't be ready to try the entrance for a year and a half yet. But it's well to begin in time and be thoroughly grounded, Miss Stacy says,
I shall take more interest than ever in my studies now,
said Anne blissfully.
because I have a purpose in life. Mr. Allen says everybody should have a purpose in life and pursue it faithfully. Only he says we must first make sure that it was a worthy purpose. I would call it a worthy purpose to want to be a teacher like Miss Stacy, wouldn't you, Marilla? I think it's a very noble profession.
The Queen's class was organized in due time. Gilbert Blythe, Anne Shirley, Ruby Gillis, Jane Andrews, Josie Pye, Charlie Sloane, and Moody Spurgeon Macpherson joined it. Diana Barry did not, as her parents did not intend to send her to Queen's. This seemed nothing short of a calamity to Anne. Never since the night on which Minnie May had had the croup had she and Diana been separated in anything. On the evening when the Queen's class first remained in school for the extra lessons, and Anne saw Diana go slowly out with the others, to walk home alone through the Birch Path and Violet Vale, it was all the former could do to keep her seat and refrain from rushing impulsively after her chum. A lump came into her throat, and she hastily retired behind the pages of her uplifted Latin grammar to hide the tears in her eyes. Not for worlds would Anne have had Gilbert Blythe or Josie Pye see those tears.
But oh, Marilla, I really felt that I had tasted the bitterness of death, as Mr. Allen said in his sermon last Sunday, when I saw Diana go out alone.
She said mournfully that night.
I thought how splendid it would have been if Diana had only been going to study for the entrance too. But we can't have things perfect in this imperfect world. As Mrs. Linde says, Mrs. Linde isn't exactly a comforting person sometimes, but there's no doubt she says a great of many very true things. And I think the Queen's class is going to be extremely interesting. Jan and Ruby are just going to study to be teachers. That is the height of their ambition. Ruby says she will only teach for 2 years after she gets through, and then she intends to be married. Jan says she will devote her whole life to teaching and never marry because you are paid a salary for teaching, but the husband won't pay you anything and grows if you ask for a share in the eggs and butter money. I expect Jen speaks from mournful experience, for Mrs. Lynde says that her father is a perfect old crank and meaner than the second screamings. Josephine says she's just going to college for education's sake, because she won't have to earn her own living. She says, of course, it is a different with orphans who are living on charity. They have to hustle. But Spurgeon is going to be a minister. Mrs. Lynch says he couldn't be anything else with a name like that to live up to. I hope it isn't wicked of me, Marilla, but really the thought of Moody Spurgeon being a minister makes me laugh. He's such a funny looking boy with that big fat face and his little blue eyes and his ears sticking out like little flaps. But perhaps he will be more intellectual looking when he grows up. Charlie Slowing says he's going to go into politics and he'll be a member of the parliament. But Mrs. Linda says he'll never succeed at that because the Slowings are all honest people and it's only rascals that get into politics nowadays.
What is Gilbert Blythe going to be? Queried Marilla, seeing that Anne was opening her Caesar.
I don't happen to know what Gilbert Blythe's ambition in life is, if he has any.
Anne said scornfully.
Boom.
There was open rivalry between Gilbert and Anne now. Previously, the rivalry had been rather one-sided. There was no longer any doubt that Gilbert was as determined to be first in class as Anne was. He was a foeman worthy of her steel. The other members of the class tacitly acknowledged their superiority and never dreamed of trying to compete with them. Since the day by the pond when she had refused to listen to his plea for forgiveness, Gilbert, save for the aforesaid determined rivalry, had evinced no recognition whatever of the existence of Anne Shirley. He talked and jested with the other girls, exchanged books and puzzles with them, discussed lessons and plans, sometimes walked home with one or the other of them from prayer meeting or debating club. But Anne Shirley he simply ignored, and Anne found out that it is not pleasant to be ignored. It was in vain that she told herself with a toss of her head that she did not care. Deep down in her wayward feminine little heart, she knew that she did care, and that if she had that chance of the lake of shining waters again, she would answer very differently. All at once, as it seemed, and to her secret dismay, she found that the old resentment she had cherished against him was gone, gone just when she most needed its sustaining power. It was in vain that she recalled every incident and emotion of that memorable occasion and tried to feel the old satisfying anger. That day by the pond had witnessed its last spasmodic flicker. Anne realized that she had forgiven and forgotten without thinking, without knowing it. But it was too late. And, at least, neither Gilbert nor anybody else Not even Diana should ever suspect how sorry she was and how much she wished she hadn't been so proud and horrid. She determined to shroud her feelings in deepest oblivion, and it may be stated here and now that she did it so successfully that Gilbert, who possibly was not quite so indifferent as he seemed, could not console himself with any belief that Anne felt his retaliatory scorn. The only poor comfort he had was that she snubbed Charlie Sloane unmercifully, continually, and undeservedly. Otherwise, the winter passed away in a round of pleasant duties and studies. For Anne, the days slipped by like golden beads on the necklace of the year. She was happy, eager, interested. There were lessons to be learned, and honor to be won, delightful books to read, new places to be practiced for the Sunday school, new pieces to be practiced for the Sunday school choir, pleasant Saturday afternoons at the manse with Mrs. Allen. And then, almost before Anne realized it, spring had come again to Green Gables, and all the world was abloom once more. Studies palled just a wee bit then. The Queen's class, left behind in school while the others scattered to green lanes and leafy woodcuts and meadowy byways, looked wistfully out the windows and discovered that Latin verbs and French exercises had somehow lost the tang and zest they had possessed in the crisp winter months. Even Anne and Gilbert lagged and grew indifferent. Teacher and taught were alike glad when the term was ended and the glad vacation day stretched rosily before them. Miss Stacy, that's you, Crusher.
Oops, sorry, I had my mic muted. But you've done good work this past year.
Miss Stacy told them on the last evening.
And you deserve a good, jolly vacation. Have the best time you can in the out-of-door world that lay in a good stock of health and vitality and ambition to carry you through next year. It will be the tug of war, you know, the last year before the entrance.
Are you going to be back next year, Miss Stacy?
Asked Josie Pye. Josie Pye never scrupled to ask questions. In this instance, the rest of the class felt grateful to her. None of them would have dared to ask it of Miss Stacy, but all wanted to. For there had been alarming rumors running at large through the school for some time that Miss Stacy was not coming back next year, that she had been offered a position in the grade school of her own home district and meant to accept. The Queen's class listened in breathless suspense for her answer.
Yes, I think I will,
said Miss Stacy.
I thought of taking another school, but I have decided to come back to Avonlea. To tell the truth, I've grown so interested in my pupils here that I found I couldn't leave them, so I'll stay and see you through.
Sorry, I was eating. Hurrah!
Said Moody Spurgeon. Moody Spurgeon had never been so carried away by his feelings before, and he blushed uncomfortably every time he thought about it for a week.
Oh, I'm so glad,
said Anne with shining eyes.
Dear Stacy, it would be perfectly dreadful if you didn't come back. I don't believe I could have the heart to go on with my studies at all if another teacher came here.
When Anne got home that night, she stacked all her textbooks away in an old trunk in the attic, locked it, and threw the key into the blanket box.
I'm not even going to look at the school booking vacation,
she told Marilla.
I have studied as hard as all the term and I possibly could, and I've poured all over that geometry until I know every proposition in the first book off by heart, even when the letters are changed. I just feel tired of everything sensible and I'm going to let my imagination run riot for the summer. Oh, you needn't be alarmed, Marilla. I will only let it run riot until reasonable limits. But I want to have a really good jolly time this summer. For maybe it's the last summer I'll be a little girl. Mrs. Linda says that if I keep stretching out next year as I've done this, I'll have to put on longer skirts. She says I'm all running to legs and eyes, and when I put on longer skirts, I shall feel that I have to live up to them and be very dignified. I won't even do to believe in fairies then, I'm afraid. So I'm going to believe in them with all my whole heart this summer. I think we're going to have a very gay vacation. Ruby Gillis is going to have a birthday party soon, and there's the Sunday school picnic and the missionary concert next month. And Mr. Barry says that some evening he would take Diana and me over to the White Sandal Hotel and have dinner there. They have dinner there in the evening, you know. Jane Andrews was over once last summer and she says it was dazzling sight to see the electric lights and the flowers and all the lady guests in such beautiful dresses. Jane says it was her very first glimpse into high life, and she'll never forget it into her dying day.
Mrs. Lynde came up the next afternoon to find out why Marilla had not been at the aid meeting on Thursday. When Marilla was not at aid meeting, people knew there was something wrong at Green Gables. Matthew had a bad spell with his heart Thursday, Marilla explained, and I didn't feel like leaving him. Oh, yes, he's all right again now, but he takes some spells oftener than he used to, and I'm anxious about him. The doctor says he must be careful to avoid excitement. That's easy enough, for Matthew doesn't go about looking for excitement by any means, and he never did. That he's not to do any very heavy work either, and you might as well tell Matthew not to breathe as not to work. Come and lay off your things, Rachel. You'll stay to tea?
Well, seeing you're so pressing, perhaps might as well stay,
said Mrs. Rachel, who had not the slightest intention of doing anything else. Mrs. Rachel and Marilla sat comfortably in the parlor while Anne got the tea and made hot biscuits that were light and white enough to defy even Mrs. Rachel's criticism.
I must say, Anne has turned out a real smart girl,
admitted Mrs. Rachel as Marilla accompanied her to the end of the lane at sunset.
She must be a great help to you.
She is. And she's real steady and reliable now. I used to be afraid she'd never get over her feather-brained ways, but she has, and I wouldn't be afraid to trust her in anything now.
I never would have thought she'd have turned out so well that first day. I was there 3 years ago,
said Mrs. Rachel.
Lawful heart, shall I ever forget that tantrum of hers? When I went home that night, I says to Thomas, says I, mark my words, Thomas, Marilla Cuthbert'll live to rue the steps she's took. But I was mistaken, and I'm real glad of it. I ain't one of those kind of people, Marilla, as can never be brought to own up that they've made a mistake. No, that never was my way, thank goodness. I did make a mistake in judging Anne, but it weren't no wonder, for an odder, unexpecteder witch of a child that there never was in this world. That's what. There was no ciphering her out by the rules that worked with other children. It's nothing short of wonderful how she's improved these 3 years, but especially in looks. She's a real pretty girl, got to be. Though I can't say I'm overly partial to that pale, big-eyed style myself. I like more snap and color like Diana Barry has for, or Ruby Gillis. Ruby Gillis's looks are real showy, but somehow I don't know how it is, but when Anne and them are together, though she ain't half as handsome, she makes them all look kind of common and overdone. Something like them white June lilies she calls narcissus alongside the big red peonies. That's what.
End of chapter.
They grow up so fast.
Yep, that's a chapter that's kind of gives us the nostalgicness of children growing up, becoming young teens. The children are growing up.
Yeah, this chapter gives a significant sense of heartache.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We also get a hint of Matthew's heart being bothering him. Like, okay, you guys, the anime did us dirty. We thought that was like a real thing happening. I was like, what?
I mean, to be fair, it kind of is a real thing. It shows a history of heart problems.
But I thought that was it. You know, the big it. Here they don't.
Well, don't give us spoilers because we already know that. At least from the previews, the next episode is going to have something really big with his heart.
Yeah. So I mean, it was like pretty explicitly. Well, like that was the night before like grief touched my life or something. Like, I'm like, yo, can you be like, okay, the book is 100 years old, so I guess it doesn't need to, be so considerate, but still, I was like, I would rather they not. Anyway, so here we see, like, it's just mentioned, like, she did it so that we wouldn't really worry about it. Like, there's some things that she kind of hints at until they catch us by surprise. The anime did it a little different. Anyway, what else is happening in Avonlea?
Well, Anna's getting in trouble for reading in class, like I used to do when I was a kid. I had a tendency to read Animorphs or Goosebumps or all kinds of books that caught my fancy back when I was younger.
You know what, you guys? I used to... that's a habit that I never outgrew. Back when I was working in corporate, I would still read books. That's my guilty secret, I guess. I never outgrew that.
Must be nice.
Magpie, you're supposed to be at work, not reading.
I know, but guess what? Now, if I slack off at work, it's me who's cheating me because I am now a freelancer / so it's like, well, you can do whatever you want, but you're gonna pay for it. So I'm like, dang it. So yeah,
pretty good motivating factor right there.
Yeah, I won't be able to pay my rent if I slack off. So yeah. Now I will say though that it never affected my work. Usually I would do it like on like times when there was like absolutely nothing to do or like I had finished all my things. So it's not like I was cheating the company of like some terrible, something terrible. It was just, it's almost time to go and I'm tired and I'm bored and I need something to clear off my head, like clear off my boredom. So, but yeah, I get it. Reading is highly addictive. I wonder why people not finding it so addicting. Reading is just a delight.
My younger sister recently got back into reading, but she's reading Twilight.
So what's wrong with that? A book is a book.
She's in her like 20s and she's still reading teenager books. Oh well.
That's great. I think that's great.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, but Essentials of a Bookworm is not aimed for our age range, honestly. I don't think we can say anything.
Are you saying that we're too old to be enjoying this?
Probably.
Hey, I got into it because of the anime.
Hey, my sister is still like in shock that there's people that are not children watching anime or reading the books that we read. She's like, and they're all adults. I'm like, yep, they're all adults. Yep. And she's like, really? That's amazing. I'm like, yeah, you ought to join us and watch some stuff. She never does. She could care less. Listen, if you're listening, I love you, but you really don't care, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine. Just read. It can be anything. Read Animorphs in your 50s. Read Anne of Green Gables in your 70s. Read Twilight.
Ooh.
Yes.
What about that one issue of National Geographic that we're not supposed to read, but for some reason is available?
What? What are you talking about? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know
Never mind.
I'm sorry.
Patrick knows what I'm talking about.
Is
Right
this on the
I'm
chat?
sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, I think I see something
You
in the
know
chat.
what I'm talking about when I talk about that one National Geographic book.
Oh yes, I definitely know the one you're talking about.
Crusher.
You
something about
naughty
nudity?
boy.
It says Crusher on the chat at 5:07 p.m. typed. I got in trouble once for reading, quote unquote, that issue of National Geographic exploring the indigenous tribes of Africa. Is that because it showed the women bare-breasted? Is that what?
Yes.
Was that a big deal?
I got in trouble for it.
For boys of a certain age, it was definitely not good.
Crusher, aren't you
Why
the
would
one
they have
who
Why would they have
was
it in school?
But aren't you the one who was like, oh no, I didn't know the girls read fanfic because she was they are gooning.
What is this
To be
conversation?
fair,
Okay.
To be fair, I mean, you know what? It's probably safer not to have this conversation.
Let's have this conversation
Oh, sorry.
somewhere else. At the mention of that word, which I had no idea what it meant until I looked it up, much to my own chagrin.
Yeah. Don't look it up.
More.
Don't,
Yeah.
But yeah, Anne is slowly maturing.
Yes.
She let go of her grudges.
Mm-hmm.
No, she's still too proud to let the person she had a grudge against know.
You know what? That's fine. That's fine. She made a choice. She must stick to it.
That's not fine.
That is fine.
He's a fool.
I would do the same. I have done the same actually, and I have never once regretted it.
I mean, she's
Sure.
she's still a child, kind of.
Magpie is putting on a strong front. She's trying to tell us that she never regretted it, but I'm pretty sure she regrets it.
Look. There's a terrible thing in my family is that we're all extremely proud. We never apologize or anything. We never. We'd rather die than admit some things like this. Like if I
know
made,
what comes after the pride.
yeah, pride comes before the fall. Yeah, whatever.
Pride is a cardinal sin, my dear.
Yeah. So I'm told. Pray for
Says a
me.
very
Jesus is still
prideful
working
person.
in my life. All right. So she is regretting the fact that Gilbert Blythe has kind of like moved on, or he's not kind of moved on, but like he's absolutely just ignoring her, and she's finding that she does not like the silent treatment or the cold shoulder or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, how the turntables have tabled.
Is that actually a thing? Like, is it bad if like
No,
your
What?
peers ignore you if they're like, never mind.
well, so in this case, it's a bit of reverse psychology. So, Anne was the one who was ignoring Gilbert, and Gilbert, he's like, well, fine, if if my attempts at reconciliation are not going to reach any kind of solace, then I guess I'm going to ignore you. And so, because he's not constantly going after her for her affections, she's like, well, wait a second. What's going on here? Why aren't you paying attention to me?
I mean, I don't know. I grew up at school, and my class was very small. Like we have 17 children learning, and if we were all friends, and if two friends were like at bad sides with each other, they have a fight, everybody noticed, and everything came a little strange. So thinking about her friend group, and even if she counts more about the girls, she knows a lot about the other boys as well. I feel like she's not used to it, even if she didn't say it out loud. I think she saw Gilbert as a friend.
Yeah, I think that also has to do with like how small her world is. Their world is so small that it's a community, and it's kind of like this outlier, this person is just, you get along with everybody, but then there's like this kind of situation here. That's what makes it a little bit more difficult, I guess, for Anne. Because if it were like a bigger school, she'd be like, whatever, we like only see him in one class or whatever.
I think that also happens when like we start going through adolescence. Our like awareness in general increases, and like we start getting a little bit self-aware and like reflecting on stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the theme of these chapters that we read. Is just growth and changes. Everybody is changing, and they're slowly but surely finding their own paths in life. We went through everybody's different ambitions. There's going to be teachers, there's going to be politicians, there's going to be, different folks are doing all kinds of different things. All these children are growing up. And growing up is not just choosing a profession, but also, like coming to terms with feelings and ambitions and stuff like that. So really interesting, because it's kind of rare sometimes to find books that explore those gray areas of, I like explore it in depth, like
Coming of age stories.
Yeah, but if you get like a lot of coming of age that are like in a fantasy world, this teenager is gonna save the world. No, like what about a book? It just talks about like emotional growth, not about like, I don't know. I can feel a lot of the books that are for coming of age for kids, that would be for coming of age, are more like fantasy, and you're a knight and you're gonna slay the thing and whatnot. But these topics are also important. Handling emotions, relationships, and such.
Scandals.
Okay, Mrs. Rachel Lynde.
Yes, Mrs. Rachel Lynde, the woman who thinks that women shouldn't aspire to higher education.
Oh boy. Oh, Mrs. Rachel Lynde. I'm actually very, very surprised, but okay. Weird.
I am too, because in this respect, the political aspect is necessary. I thought she was a progressive, which they tended to side with the suffragettes, and I thought that she would be very much on the side of women getting educated.
Yeah, I wonder if Ellen Montgomery just put all her pets' disagreements, like all the things that she didn't agree with, she just gave it to. I don't know. I don't understand. Because
that actually does make a good bit of sense.
like if she was conservative and she just wanted to make a certain someone who's just so backwards, she's like, okay, I'm gonna make her like vote liberal or whatever. I'm like, this makes no sense. I don't understand, but okay, go off. Yeah, I'm glad you caught on to that because I didn't want to like really go into it, but yeah.
I generated images.
Oh, he
So-
generated images.
So to
What's
be
it
fair,
In
for
voice chat.
everybody who's listening to us, politics is generally taboo on this channel and in the
Always.
Discord. But in the context of this conversation, it is necessarily
Relevant.
relevant to the topic. And I mean, for her characterization, she is noted to be a progressive, and historically they would have sided with the suffragettes, and she would have been in favor of one. Montgomery would have been better served to make her a more consistent character.
Yeah, just the inconsistency of it. Like, I don't care if what she was. It makes no sense. Like, why would you not want women to be educated? There's nothing wrong with education, as we have noticed. The world has not exploded because women can now go to college. Oh well. Anywho.
Well, I'm sure there were people who had many opinions back in those days who thought that women shouldn't be.
Mhm.
Personally, I disagree.
Mm.
However, that's not what we're here to discuss.
Okay, so Crusher generated some images. We have Anne waiting for her train in Avonlea. Aww. Did you actually have to put you just put the name of the character and it automatically generated her, or how much in detail do you have to go into this?
So I tell the AI, I ask it, hey, can you just generate an image of Anne in chapter 30, leaving Avonlea, and that pretty much just came up with that.
Oh, okay.
Word for word, that's what I asked it.
All right.
I mean, AI is definitely getting much more complex and sophisticated. So,
Hmm.
As
yeah,
for the
this is-
second image,
Buxom
no.
Anne. Did you say I want her to be all grown up and have a large bosom? I'm sorry. She's just very
grown up
very
man.
grown up.
Well, everyone comments on her beauty at the end. So,
I love that big breast equal beauty.
I mean,
for all the girls in this live stream who are part of the itty
I'm
bitty
definitely
kitty
looking at her
community.
face and her blushing cheeks. I definitely was noticing that more than anything else.
That's good.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
that's very
her eyes are
decent
so
of you.
beautiful.
That's very decent of you.
I'm not sure how much people actually believe what I just said, but yeah.
I don't. Crusher, can you tell
The
us?
second image
Can you
is
tell us
actually
what
more
was your
difficult.
prompt? Tell me.
My prompt will not make sense if I post it in chat
Well,
because it involves like math and stuff.
oh, like
I do want to point
Okay.
out that the entities in that kitchen are definitely far more advanced than she would have had.
This one was made using Stable Diffusion,
mhm.
and all you have to do is put in keywords. You don't ask it anything.
Ah. What was the other one
And it
that you
just, like,
used?
The other one was not Stable Diffusion. It was Copilot.
Oh, okay.
It's the stock AI that comes with Windows.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing the images. A very beautiful Anne and a very faithful Anne. All right. I think I had a lot of fun in today's read, and it was a very, very lovely break. But you guys, I have to get back to work. I'm gonna grab something quick to eat and then work and eat at my desk after I'm done with you guys. I'm sorry that we have to end, but that means that we have a lot
What do you
more
mean
to look forward
with you
to.
guys?
Hmm?
Don't you want to hang out and chat with us?
I wish I
Are
could.
we not good enough for you?
I wish I could, and my heart will be yearning to be with you guys if you end up hanging out a little bit more.
She's
But
too proud to speak with us. Let her be.
okay. Trust me, you will know. No. never mind. I don't want to disclose more about my stupid temper, but I have a terrible temper. Yes, I am as sweet as can be, but I have a terrible temper, and you will know when I'm angry at you. But not now. I am not angry at you guys. I love you all.
Chat, she's been very mad at me in the past.
I have not. Let's see. Akihana was here, by the way. Akihana, I miss you. Why didn't I? Hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day, Akihana. Turosh Mac was talking about memberships. Wall of text, yes. Hire me, by the way. Thanks for reading your... I think that was like 4 walls of text that you had to read. Hire me. Good job. Good job hiring
Thank you.
me.
I'm sorry for
Round of applause.
the words.
Oh, no problem, no problem. That was fantastic. Also, to Crusher, who hopped in late, but hopped in and read Miss Stacy. And then Patrick, who read several different roles. I lost my little sheet. I don't know where I wrote it. Oh, here it is. Patrick, who read Miss Rachel, Moody Spurgeon, the one hurrah. Late, by the way.
Miss Joe Berry.
And Miss Joe Berry. You guys are awesome. You're the best. I'm gonna go get some dinner and get back to work. We will see you on Friday at around 1 o'clock, noonish, around 1 o'clock. So yeah, until then, everybody, take care. We will see you. And thank you again to Patrick, who supported this live stream by gifting some gift memberships. We'll see you on Friday, everybody. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye, gang.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye-bye, gang.
Bye.
See you later, everyone.